Hello students, good morning. Welcome back to the subject of environmental science. We are dealing with the first unit, that is Introduction to Environment, and this is part 7. These are the content of the unit, which consists of introduction, definition, the types that includes physical environment, social, psychological and biological environment, which we have studied in the previous lecture. Again, the scope consists, or whether you call it scope, components of environment. It consists of 4, that is lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere and biosphere, right? We have already done that in the previous lectures too. We have already studied with the biogeochemical cycle, hydrological cycle and carbon cycle, as well as in the previous lecture we have done with the nitrogen cycle also. Today we are going to overview the concept of ecology and ecosystem. I wish that all of you all should be carrying the notes and a pen with you, so that you can jot down the points continuously. I have been reminding you this point, so that once the lecture is going on, or once the video lecture is on, the slides are there before you, you can very well jot down and you can connect with what we are doing with the contents of the unit. That is why it is very important for you all to have the picture very clear before you go through the video lecture, or the previous lecture should be there in the books, so that you can relate it very well. Alright, so let us begin today's session. As you all know, we have completed with the hydrological, carbon and nitrogen cycles in the previous lectures. Now we know that with the help of these cycles, different elements keep on circulating from earth to atmosphere, or from biotic to abiotic factors. We all know this. No need to repeat it all over again, because earth is a closed system, and that is why nothing can be thrown out, no element can be disposed out of the earth. Instead, what happens is the element keeps on rotating, or it keeps on circulating, revolving within the earth and its atmosphere, from biotic to abiotic and from abiotic to biotic factors. These are when they continue with this phenomenon, it is known as the biogeochemical cycles, wherein the chemicals keep on circulating from one form to the another one. That is what we have seen in the previous lectures, right? So changing its form in the different organisms, or non-living organisms, or non-living things that we have studied under the different cycles that we have done, that is carbon cycle, hydrological cycle or nitrogen cycle. In that case, whatever the elements are present on the earth, they all have their own unique type of cycle, because it involves biogeochemical. That means bio related to life, geo related to earth, and chemicals are all those elements. It is known as the circulation of the elements from one form to the another one, and likewise, and that is why every element has its own unique cycle. In this session, as I told you earlier also, we will be learning the concept of ecology as well as ecosystem. Alright, so let us go ahead. Let us try to understand the concept of ecology. You must have heard the term ecology and ecosystem, right? They are not the same terms, and that is what is very, very important. Ecology is different, ecosystem is different. What is ecology? What is ecosystem? What role do they play? All these things we'll be seeing it quite in detail. What you have to do is you have to pay pure attention here, so that none of the point is being missed out, right? So let us start with the first thing here. Ecology and ecosystems are two closely related terms which describe the interaction of organisms with their environment. That means ecology and ecosystems are such types of terms which are closely related to each other. બંને નો એક unique સંબંધ છે, right? They are interacting, or they have a very close relationship, in which what is described, what do on the surface of earth live, that is human beings, maybe animals or plants, or there may be abiotic factors. Abiotic factors are all non-living things, and the interaction between them is being shown in ecology, or we try to understand with the term ecology there. Thus, ecology is the study of relationships and interactions of living organism, either with other living organism or surrounding environment. That means ecology is what? It's a study. What kind of study? Study means અભ્યાસ કરો. કોનો અભ્યાસ છે? તો relationship and interaction. The relationship of living organism with its own types, or maybe with the other living organism, or even with the surrounding environment. Whatever interaction is created, whatever relationship is created, that we try to study under the concept of ecology. Whereas, what is ecosystem? See here, with the term we are trying to get clear. Then we'll go in the detailed study of each one of them. When it comes to ecosystem, then ecosystem can be considered as the subpart of ecology. What it comprises of? It comprises of biotic factor, like say animals, plants, microorganisms, and abiotic factors also, including the non-living physical factors in the environment. That means ecology is a study, whereas ecosystem is what? It's the sub-part of ecology. That means ecology is a wider term. It shows what? It shows the interaction, it shows the relationship of living organism with the other living organism, or maybe the surrounding in which it lives, right? Whereas ecosystem શું છે? તો it is a sub part of ecology. Ecology નો એક ભાગ છે, sub portion છે. એ કોનાથી બનેલું છે? એ abiotic factors and biotic factors. That means living factors also and non-living factors also થી બનેલું આ આખું સિસ્ટમ છે. The main difference between ecology and ecosystem is that ecology is the study of ecosystems, whereas ecosystems are units that are formed by the interaction of community of organism with the environment. That means ecology is a study. કોનું સ્ટડી કરીએ છીએ? જે નાની નાની ઇકોસિસ્ટમ્સ ઊભી થાય છે એનું સ્ટડી કરીએ છીએ. જ્યારે ઇકોસિસ્ટમ શું છે? તો ઇકોસિસ્ટમ્સ આર ધ યુનિટ્સ. વોટ સોર્ટ ઓફ યુનિટ્સ? ઇન અ ગિવન એન્વાયરમેન્ટ when there is a kind of interaction of the community of the organisms between them and with the environment is said to be a particular ecosystem. When we study it further, it will be quite in detail and you will be able to understand it better. So let us go ahead. See here, with the diagram it has been explained, but before that, ecology is also called bioecology, bionomics, or environmental biology. That is the study. Remember, what is ecology? It is the study of relationship between organisms and their environment. These interaction between individuals, between population, between organism and their environment from ecological systems or ecosystems we have to learn. Ecology thus can be defined as what? It is the study. Study of what? શેનો અભ્યાસ થાય છે? Interrelationship. કોની વચ્ચેની interrelationship? Organisms with their environment or maybe each other. એકબીજા વચ્ચેની interrelationship or organismsની પોતાના ઇમિડિયેટ એન્વાયરમેન્ટ સાથેની જે ઇન્ટરેક્શન છે, જે ઇન્ટરરિલેશનશિપ છે, દેટ કેન બી અન્ડરસ્ટુડ વિથ ધ હેલ્પ ઓફ ઇકોલોજી, ઓર એનું જે સ્ટડી છે એની ઇકોલોજી કહેવાય. As the economy of the nature and the biology of ecosystem. That means biology of ecosystem is known as ecology. If you check out the diagram here, the outer circle, that is the oval shape outer, tells you about the ecology. It's ecology we have tried to signify there, right? And the other inner portion is known as ecosystem. That means ecology is made up of so many ecosystems. What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is a kind of interaction of a community within its own set of given conditions, right? They are said to be ecosystems. Now let us see it one by one, what is ecology, and then we move ahead with ecosystem. Now, ecology thus describes the relationship of organisms to one another and their corresponding environment. જેમાં એ રહે છે એમાં એનું એન્વાયરમેન્ટ સાથેનું કનેક્શન અને સે જે ઓર્ગેનિઝમ્સ છે એનું પોતાના સાથે એનું કનેક્શન છે અથવા તો બીજા ઓર્ગેનિઝમ સાથેનું કનેક્શન છે, that can be understood as ecology. Three major components studied in ecology. What do we study under ecology? We study three things. What are these three things? Living organisms, number one. Number two, the relationship and interaction with other organisms. That means જે ઇન્ટરેક્શન અને રિલેશનશિપ બંધાય છે બીજા ઓર્ગેનિઝમ સાથેના કોઈ પણ ઓર્ગેનિઝમના, તો દેટ ઇઝ વોટ ઇઝ અંડર ધ સ્ટડી ઓફ ઇકોલોજી. ધ થર્ડ ઇઝ ધ રિલેશનશિપ એન્ડ ધ ઇન્ટરેક્શન વિથ ધ સરાઉન્ડિંગ એન્વાયરમેન્ટ. મીન્સ જસ્ટ લર્નિંગ these 3 points will understand the meaning of ecology. Ecology is what? It is the study of relationship developed by the organism with the another organism or maybe with the immediate surroundings, which we call it as environment, right? Three major components. Ecology શેનાથી બનેલું છે? ત્રણ એસ્પેક્ટથી, ત્રણ વસ્તુનું સ્ટડી થાય છે ઇકોલોજીની અંદર. નંબર વન, લિવિંગ ઓર્ગેનિઝમ્સ. નંબર ટુ, ધ રિલેશનશિપ and interaction with the other organism. And the third one, that is the relationship and interaction with the surrounding environment. When ecosystem tends to change over a period of time, it is called ecological succession. જ્યારે સિસ્ટમ છે એ ઓવર અ પીરિયડ ઓફ ટાઈમ કાંઈ પણ ચેન્જ અનુભવે અથવા તો ચેન્જ એમાં થાય તો એને આપણે ઇકોલોજીકલ સક્સેશન કહેતા હોઈએ છીએ. Moreover, ecology also changes with the time as season changes and have its impact on man, animal and plants. Same way, ecology also changes from time to time. Or we can see the areas getting, see the example has been given here that even if the barren land is there, after few years you may get to see the grasslands or maybe the big forest grown there, right? It comes up very naturally. That development comes up very naturally. If there is no interference, human interference is there, this comes up very easily, very naturally, and that is what is said to be ecology, because there the living organisms are trying to grow, they are trying to create the interrelationship and interaction with the other organism. At the same time, these organism is trying to create a kind of interrelationship or kind of relationship with the immediate environment, and એના લીધે there may be so many changes which can be noticed over a period of time. This is what is known as ecological succession, right? Here all the animals and plants rely on various aspects of their environment of their environment in order to obtain food, nutrients and water. We all know that we are not self-sufficient, right? That means if we want food, if we want nutrients, if we want water, we have to depend on environment. Same way, if the plants and animals, all the plants and animals rely on the relative environment in which they are growing or in which they are living. The response of organisms to climate, soil, topography, atmosphere and water availability are the other types of relationship of the organisms to their living environment. That means the response that is created maybe due to climatic change, maybe due to the different soils, topography, atmospheric change, water availability or not, whatever the difference that may come up between in the relationship of organism to their living environment is a part of ecology. Here we have taken up an interesting example. See, if we try to understand the ecology and how it changes over a period of time, then we can understand with the help of example here. Suppose animals, if you have ever noticed, animals living in the cold environment, જે animals ઠંડા પ્રદેશમાં રહેતા હોય છે એ animalsના small ears હોય છે. But those animals that live in the desert region or maybe in the arid land, they have long ears, because these long ears help to release the temperature, right? It helps to cool down the body temperature and it increases the heat loss. That means it helps to release the heat from the body. What happens because of that? It can remain cool for long period of time. So they have developed long ears. So over a period of time these changes may happen in the organism or in the animals. That is what we are trying to say here. These are said to be a part of ecological succession. That means over a period of time કોઈ પણ કારણોસર અસર જેમ સમય જતો જાય અને જેમ એડેપ્ટેબિલિટી વધારવી પડે, જેમ સ્વીકારવું પડે એન્વાયરમેન્ટને, અને જે ઓર્ગેનિઝમ્સ અને એન્વાયરમેન્ટ વચ્ચે ઇન્ટરેક્શન થાય છે, એના લીધે વોટ હેપન્સ ઇઝ સમ ચેન્જીસ આર ought to come, they are sure to come, and these changes can be considered as a part of ecological succession, right? That means it keeps on changing over a period of time. Now ecology maintains a close relationship. Now we know this, it maintains a close relationship with the living organisms, with the environment, but it also has a close connection with the disciplines like say physiology, behavior, genetics and evolution. That means if you just try to notice few animals, they are being only found out in few regions. We have seen it, right? If you are say if you have the habit of watching say some animal channels or maybe discovery channels, you may have noticed that few animals are hardly found out in some typical region, because they are accustomed there, they have a particular interaction with that environment, and only they can grow and survive in such a kind of environment. So ecology is such a kind of thing which is connected to so many things like physiology, maybe the behavior is different, maybe the genetics are different, in ecology in which you live, right? And evolution. The detailed study during the ecology includes the following aspect. That is why ecology is a wider term, we have seen earlier also, because it includes so many things. When you study life processes, interaction, adaptation of a specific species, maybe the influence of environmental factors on the organism in a population, the progress changes in the ecosystems, maybe the distribution and the abundance of organism in the environment, biodiversity with an ecosystem, everything is a part of say ecology. So when we say we are studying ecology, none of us can study the whole of the ecology at a time, because it consists of so many things. ઘણી બધી વસ્તુઓ microorganism થી લઈને giant animals, or maybe the most intellectual people, like most intellectual organism like us, they all have their ecological connections, or we all live in a proper ecology wherein we try to create the interaction, and that is why it's a very wide subject, right? Which includes so many things. Few aspects have been noticed here. Say life processes are there, there is interaction, there is adaptation એટલે જ્યારે કોઈ પણ પરિસ્થિતિને આપણે ધ્યાનમાં રાખીને એ પરિસ્થિતિને અનુરૂપ when we make the changes, આપણે એને સ્વીકાર્ય થાય છે. Those things are said to be adapting the changes, right? Maybe environmental factors ઘણી વખત organism ઉપર ઘણી બધી અસર છોડતા હોય છે. We have just taken up the example in the previous slide. Maybe the progress changes in the ecosystem, maybe there may be changes, unnatural changes, or maybe unexpected changes in the ecosystem, and because of that the changes may occur in the environment also. Next, the distribution and abundance of organisms in the environment. At times you may notice that only few animals are available in a very small numbers, whereas few things are available in abundance in few region. So that also is a part of the study of ecology, as well as the biodiversity. Biodiversity means so many diverse kind of animals, organisms live on the same planet, they coexist. That is what is said to be biodiversity with an ecosystem, right? So that is what is considered as biodiversity with an ecosystem. This is what is known as the whole list of things in which the ecology and its study aspects can be seen. Now come back to ecosystem, right? We have seen what is ecology. Now we are moving towards the next part of the session there, that is ecosystem. Now what is this ecosystem? Ecosystem is nothing but the subpart of ecology. That means if we want to describe ecology, then we can say that ecology is made up of so many subparts, right? Same way ecosystem is subpart. That means it's a portion of the whole ecology. Now what is this portion? What it includes? Then it includes biotic factors, means all the living things. Biotic is always related with life, right? All those things which have life can be considered as biotic factors, which can be included animals, plants, microorganisms can be included. And abiotic are all those things which are non-living in nature. They are the physical factors in the environment. Say the forest, forest can be considered as the plants, maybe the atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, right? They are all are considered to be the physical factors or non-living things or abiotic factors. Thus, a specific landscape forming the regions like forest, desert, grassland and coastal areas is known as ecosystem. Thus, a specific landscape, that means a particular region, it may be forest, it may be desert, it may be grassland, coastal areas, everything. When I am listing it out here, that means all these things are different from each other, that we know it very well. And each one can be considered having a different ecosystem, because what things can live in forests cannot be found in desert. We know that in desert what we can find out, we cannot get it in the grasslands or on the coastal region. That means each has its own unique kind of ecosystem. Thus, it is consisting of all the living organisms existing together in a given area. That means when they coexist together in a given area and they kind of create a kind of relationship, that is what is known as ecosystem. It includes plants, animals, other organisms, and is also related to non-living environments such as atmosphere, climate, soil, etc. That means whatever coexists together in a particular condition, in a given set of condition, when there is a kind of system that is being developed, it is known as ecosystem. The controlled parameters of ecosystems are rainfall, temperature and level of sunlight. With what the ecosystem is getting controlled, suppose whatever the amount of temperature is there in the desert area may not be found out in the forest area. That means rainfall, temperature or sunlight may be such kind of regulating factors which affects the ecosystem to its most, right? So what we have understood here is ecosystem is sub part of ecology. It's not ecology as a whole. Ecology is very vast. The one of the component of ecology are all these ecosystems that happen to survive on the planet Earth. Thus, ecosystems differ greatly in size, location, climate and elements that make them, and moreover each is a functioning unit of a nature. That means ecosystem may be so varied, it may be so different, it may be different in size, it may be different in location, climate or any other element can be making the ecosystem different from each other, and that is why each ecosystem is a unit. એક આખું એક એકમ જેવું દરેક ઇકોસિસ્ટમ છે એ કામ કરે છે. One ecosystem cannot be exactly similar to the another one. They may differ from one another, right? Or that means it can be as small as pond. Here the example has been given that ecosystem can be as small as pond. એક નાના એવા તળાવ જેવું હોઈ શકે, અથવા તો એ પણ એક ઇકોસિસ્ટમ છે, સ્મોલેસ્ટ ઇકોસિસ્ટમ છે. અને big ocean may be also a kind of ecosystem, or it can be as small as single tree. One tree is ecosystem in itself, whereas there can be a kind of the entire forest which can be considered as single ecosystem. Thus, most ecosystem are self-regulating and sustainable. જે ઇકોસિસ્ટમ આપણે સ્ટડી કરીએ અથવા તો જે ઇકોસિસ્ટમને આપણે સ્ટડી કરવા માગતા હોય તો એ દરેક ઇકોસિસ્ટમનું પોતાનું એક સેલ્ફ રેગ્યુલેટરી સિસ્ટમ છે. એ પોતાના ઉપર સસ્ટેનેબલ છે, એક પોતાના ઉપર એ જીવી શકે છે. સસ્ટેનેબલ મીન્સ it has the ability of to maintain itself naturally, right, in the whatever conditions it is given, without interruption, without getting weakened up or without losing the value. When it can sustain for a long time, it is said to be or all the living things can sustain for a long time in such a kind of system. That is what is ecosystem all about. That is, it is self-regulatory. Self-regulatory એટલે એને કોઈ બહારથી કોઈ રેગ્યુલેટ કરે અથવા કંટ્રોલ કરે એની જરૂર પડતી નથી. Within the system it gets regulated or it gets a sustainable kind of living. And when all the ecosystem of the earth join together, a giant ecosystem called biosphere is formed. If you remember, in the scope of environment we have learnt this, that is there are four kind of different different kind of ecosystems are there, or they say we have learnt about the different scopes, right, wherein we know that it is made up of hydrosphere, lithosphere, and one of the sphere was biosphere. So when these many ecosystem comes up together, it forms a kind of biosphere. Why biosphere? Because all the living things can be involved here. So when so many ecosystems are coming up together, it makes the biosphere. Biosphere is we have learnt that it is interaction of hydrosphere, atmosphere and lithosphere together, right? All right. Now what we are going to study is the structure of ecosystem, right? What is the structure, how it is made up of? Now we know that ecosystem is subsystem. Any subsystem in which the living organism live, they are sustainable or they are self-reliant, self-regulatory, can be considered as ecosystem, right? What is it made up of? Then it has got two structures, or it has got two components. One is said to be the abiotic component and the other one is biotic component. So let us study it further. An ecosystem has two major components, that is abiotic and biotic. These two classes then interact with each other to create an ideal ecosystem. So when you want an ideal ecosystem, there is a necessity of this abiotic factor coming up in contact with the biotic factors, right? And it creates a kind of ideal ecosystem. All right, let us talk about the first structure or first component there, abiotic component. Abiotic component of ecosystem consists of non-living substances and factors which make up the structural aspect of an ecosystem. That means whatever is non-living in a particular given situation, they all can be considered as abiotic. What it can be considered as, or what things can be considered here, it may be the minerals, it may be the water, it may be the climatic condition, maybe the temperature, light, wind, all these things which are non-living in nature can be a part of abiotic component, right? So let us study. A large number of minerals are required by the organism for their proper growth. Now deficiency of any one mineral results in the abnormal growth and may lead to even death, or excess of these can also prove harmful. That means these minerals are available as abiotic component in an ecosystem. Even the climatic factors like rain, carbon dioxide, temperature, light, wind, humidity, etc. can be considered as a part of abiotic component of an ecosystem. What you have to remember here is ecosystem is a sub part of ecology, one thing, right? Number two, it is made up of two components, that is abiotic and biotic, right? Abiotic is what? Everything which is non-living, can be minerals, it can be rainwater, climate, maybe the temperature, light, wind, etc. right? Then what is biotic component? Biotic, always remember where the term bio comes, it is always that it is the life, full of life, that is said to be bio. Biotic factors include the living beings of the ecosystem. Like what are the living beings that we know? Plants, animals, or even the microorganisms that are present can be a part of biotic component. On the basis of the role played in the ecosystem, the biotic component can be further classified in three main groups. Now see, we just telling that plants, animals and microorganisms can be considered as a part of biotic component. What we do is we divide them into three categories, and these three categories make the biotic component very easy to understand. These three main categories are producers, consumers and decomposers, right? Now what are these producers? They are known as autotrophs also, like plants, bacteria or algae. What do they do? Autotrophs means all those things or all those living organism which has the capacity to produce their own food. That means they don't depend on anybody else. That is why they are known as autotrophs. They convert solar energy into chemical energy by chlorophyll present in them, and thus they are they produce their own food, and they are known as autotrophs. That means they can produce their own food, they don't depend on anything else. If we just take the simple example of plants, have you ever noticed that plants produce their own food with the help of photosynthesis? You must have learned this under the environment subject in 5th 6th standard, that plant produce their own food with the presence in the presence of sunlight with the help of chlorophyll, and this process is known as the process of photosynthesis. What do? With the help of these chlorophyll present in them, they can produce their own energy, they can produce their, or they can convert the solar energy into the energy, that is chemical energy, that is required by the plants. Because they produce their own food, they come in the category of producers. So it's not only plants, it may be some type of bacteria and even the algae, right? Algae means લીલ, જેને આપણે સાદી ભાષામાં કહેતા હોઈએ છીએ. તો that is what they are, self producers. That means they are autotrophs, right? So that is one category. Number 2 are said to be consumers. They are known as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs ની ખાસિયત શું છે? They are the animals which cannot manufacture their own food. In fact, they obtain their food from the plants or other animals. That means consumers છે. ફક્ત consumers. Consumers means those who consume. They only know how to consume, they don't produce anything, right? They depend on other plants, maybe on other animals, and those are considered as the consumers category, right? And the third one that comes up in the series, they are known as decomposers. Decomposers, D means always to degrade. Decomposers are also known as reducers. They are small animals like bacteria, fungi, insects or worms which acts as decomposers, generally found out in the soil, right? What do? એ લોકો શું કરે છે? તો they break down the dead organic materials of producers and consumers into smaller particles and release the simple substance as the byproduct that are used by the plants as nutrition. Then that means decomposers શું કરે છે? decompose કરવું એટલે decay કરવું. એને decay પ્રોસેસમાં શું થતું હોય છે? તો it's nothing but releasing or maybe breaking it down. તમે જે પણ ડેડ સેલ્સ છે અથવા ડેડ ઓર્ગેનિક મટીરિયલ છે, પ્રોડ્યુસર્સનું હોય કે કન્ઝ્યુમર્સનું હોય, એ ડેડ થયા પછી વોટ એવર ધ left out portion is, they are being decayed, they are being decomposed by the bacteria, maybe the fungi, maybe type of insects or worms, right? They are getting their nutrition for themselves also, and moreover they try to break down the organic material into smaller particles. After that, what happens? It releases the simple substances, right? These we have studied under the cycles also, if you remember. Under the nitrogen cycle, we have seen how the nitrogen gas is getting converted into nitrites and nitrates, right? By the decomposers present or the bacteria present in the soil. How it changes into ammonia. These ammonia is taken up by plants, and again the plants are eaten by herbivorous animals. Herbivorous animals are eaten by carnivorous animals, and like that the element of nitrogen keeps on transferring in the different forms, and it creates a nitrogen cycle. That means the decomposers are the last link in the chain which decomposes everything, which makes the most complex organic material into the simplest form. It gets into the simplest form which can be then consumed by the plants. Thus, the biotic and abiotic factors are linked by two factors. Number 1, the flow of energy through the ecosystem, and the cycling of the nutrients with the ecosystem. And this can be explained as under. That means biotic and abiotic factors they both are linked factors, right? They are linked by two factors. How they are linked together? The number 1 is the flow of energy through ecosystem. The largest source of energy, all of you all must be knowing, that is sunlight, right? And the cycling of the nutrients within the ecosystem. That means whatever is being taken up, that is being released in the atmosphere, again it comes back to it, and again the cycle goes on. That means with these two things, they are getting connected with each other. Number 1 is the flow of energy, and number 2 is cycling of the nutrients, right? It is explained here. Let us see how it works. Now Sunlight is the fundamental energy of the majority of ecosystem. We know that in the presence of sunlight, so many things, so many processes happen, and this sunlight is the major source of energy. From there, then using this energy, many chemicals are getting released, many nutrients are being framed. It is used by autotrophs in the ecosystem to produce simple carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and water. Thus, autotrophs are considered as the primary producer in an ecosystem. That means autotrophs, what do? Say suppose plants. Then plants, in the presence of sunlight, they try to change, or they try to convert the solar energy into chemical energy, and they try to make their own food, right? And these food, they take it for themselves as well as it is given to the consumers. Now, how this goes to consumer? The heterotrophs in the ecosystem depend on the organic matter produced by the autotrophs, right? Heterotrophs are what? They are the dependent people. They are dependent category. That means they are all consumers. What do? They consume something. What do they consume? All those things which are produced by autotrophs. So heterotrophs are the consumers of the ecosystem, and the movement of organic matter from the primary producer to the level of consumer level makes up the food chain. That means I gave you the food chain just before a couple of minutes, that it transfers from plants, the nutrient transfers to herbivorous animals, from herbivorous to carnivorous, and like that the food chain is created from microorganism to small animals. These small animals are eaten by birds, or maybe a larger animal is getting again eaten up by maybe major carnivorous animals. These carnivorous animals, when they die, the organic matter in them is being decomposed, and the last part of the food chain comes up, that is known as the final link, which are known as decomposers, right? And they are all of microorganisms. We most of the time we cannot see it with our naked eyes, and that is why they are considered to be microorganisms. What do? They decompose કરવું એટલે decay કરાવવું, સડાવવું. એનાથી શું થાય છે? They break down the organic matter into simple compounds, or maybe simple elements, simple forms, and they are again absorbed by the autotrophs like plants. Thus, the overlapping and interconnecting food chains forms the food web, right? We can observe this in the following diagram. If you see it, the plants are eaten up, the whatever the nutrients are being given up by the plants. The grasshopper eats maybe the grass. They are again being eaten by the mice is eaten by the snakes are eaten by the eagle. And when eagle or hawks die, whatever their body parts or their organic matter is, it again is getting break down by the the decomposers, and it again comes back to the soil. Again from soil it enters the plant, and likewise, but everything happens in the presence of sunlight. So sunlight is considered to be the major source of energy there, right? Here few difference has been given. Now that we know that what is ecology and what is ecosystem, we can easily make out with the difference also. Let us try to understand. Ecology revolves around the relationship between the environment and living organism, whereas ecosystem revolves around the study of different places, environments such as streams, still water, desert, river, grassland, forest. આ બધાનું સ્ટડી છે એને ઇકોસિસ્ટમ કહેવાય. એની એક પોતાની દુનિયા છે, એનું પોતાનું એક આખું it has its own encircled portion, and which can be considered as ecosystem. Ecology is the study of environment and different ecosystem, whereas ecosystem is generally the subset of broader ecology. Their third point is there are no general classification when it comes to ecology. You cannot classify ecology, right? But ecosystem, yes, we can classify it into two that we'll study in the future lectures to come. That is terrestrial ecosystem. Terrestrial means land ecosystem, and aquatic. Aquatic means water ecosystem. So these are the two ecosystems, but there is no such kind of classification for ecology. Again, ecology is an extensive study of living beings or organism and their interaction and relationship with the environment. This is a extensive study. It is very wide study of the interrelationship of the living organism with itself, with the other animals or with the environment. On the other hand, what is ecosystem? It is considered as subset of ecology. Now we know that, and it revolves around the complex interaction between the living beings and non-living beings in a given community or area, in a given community, in a given circumstances, when there is a interaction of biotic and abiotic factors within that area only, that can be considered of ecosystem of that particular area. That means if we compare ecosystem of pond with that of the ocean, or ocean with that of the land, then we may not have the common things, right? They all are different in its, and they are unique in its own sense. Ecology is a broader perspective of environment, and ecosystem consists of every biotic and abiotic factor of the environment. These are the point of difference, right? So at the end, what we can conclude, both ecology and ecosystem are crucial for well-being of the environment. Both you need to manage, both you need to balance. Many a times we get to hear we need to balance our ecology, we need to make our ecosystem more conducive to live. These type of terms we often listen, but once now at the end of this session, you should be clear that what is ecology and what is ecosystem, and both are so very important for our living. Without understanding the concept of ecology and ecosystem, it will be very difficult for you to understand the environmental studies in general. That means if we want to get understand, or if we want to understand the environmental studies in the further chapters and further aspects to come, before that we need to be clear about ecology and ecosystem, right? So that was the end of this part 7, wherein we have studied what is ecology, what is ecosystem. I repeat one more time, ecology is a broader term, right? It includes 3 things: living things, right? Interaction of living things. Again, it is the interrelationship between the living things with the other organism, or it is the interaction of living things with its ultimate surrounding. This is what is known as ecology. It is broader term. Whereas ecosystem, it consists of 2 major components. One is the biotic factor, the other one is abiotic, and their interrelationship between the biotic and abiotic can be considered in a given situation. It can be considered the ecosystem of that particular condition. This is what we have seen in quite a detail. I wish that you should be preparing notes for the same, right? And when we meet next, we shall be learning with the types of ecosystem. By the time we meet next, it's a goodbye from my side. Take care of yourself, and thank you.